Welcome to the Chapter 3 Eligibility Determination Approving Confidential Income Statements training for Child Care Centers and the Child and Adult Care Food Program hosted by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. This training is not required for at-risk after-school or homeless programs. This training provides you with an overview of the CACFP Policy and Procedure Manual for Center-Based Sponsors, Chapter 3, Child Eligibility Determination, Section C. The objectives for this training are to review how to assist parents and guardians with completing the Confidential Income Statement, also known as the CIS, review the CIS forms and the different types of eligibility, how to approve CIS forms, and how to establish the effective date of approval. As a reminder, participants can fall into 3 different eligibility categories: free, reduced price, or above scale. From the determination of the eligibility category of each participant, the sponsor creates a unique reimbursement rate for the sponsor. Please note, if the sponsor has multiple sites, each site will have its own unique reimbursement rate based on the enrolled participant's determined eligibility. First, we will review how to assist parents and guardians in completing a confidential income statement. When requesting parents or guardians to complete confidential income statements, it is beneficial to discuss the areas that are required for the parent or guardian to complete. The instructions are located at the top of the CIS form. The instructions highlight the different ways for the parent or guardian to complete the CIS form. When completing the CIS, the person who is completing the application should complete Part 1, Household Information. In Part 2, the parent or guardian should list only the child who is enrolled in child care. Please note that the name, date of birth, along with the age of the child is required. If the household currently receives the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF, or the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, or FDPIR, the parent or guardian will indicate which benefit the household currently receives and list the case number. If the household does not receive public benefits, Part 4, Household Members and Gross Monthly Income is required to be completed. The parent or guardian who is completing the form will need to list all the household members, including children not attending school or enrolled in your center, and the income for each individual listed. If a household member does not receive an income, column 6 should be marked. Prior to submitting a completed application, the parent or guardian who is completing the CIS must sign, date, and include the last 4 digits of their Social Security number. If the parent or guardian does not have a Social Security number, they will need to check the box to the right stating, "I do not have a Social Security number." Part 6, Racial or Ethnic Group is optional and is not required for completion of the form. Next, we will review a sample confidential income statement for completeness. If a parent or guardian returns a confidential income statement that is not complete, the form may be returned to the parent or guardian for completion, or it is determined as above scale. First, we'll review a returned CIS using categorical eligibility. For a household receiving SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR, the household member will need to complete sections 1, 2, 3, and 5. For examples of acceptable SNAP and TANF numbers, refer to Chapter 3, Section D, Common Errors That Can Be Costly of the manual. If an acceptable case number is listed, you do not need to look at household income. The household is automatically eligible for free. Next, we will review a returned CIS form based on income eligibility. When a household does not receive public benefits, they will need to complete sections 1, 2, 4, and 5. Reminder, if there is no income listed, ensure that the parent or guardian has marked column 6, No Income. When a household submits a CIS with 0 income entered in section 4 and does not provide a current SNAP or TANF case number or an indication that the household receives FDPIR benefits, sponsors may approve the CIS in the free category. Like all complete income applications, 0 income applications are valid for 12 months from the date of the sponsor's eligibility official signs and dates the form. In Section 4, parents or guardians may enter 0 or mark the box in column 6, Check if no income, for all household members listed. If columns 2 through 6 in Section 4 are blank, this may be considered 0 income. The CIS is considered incomplete if the entire section is left blank without other categorical eligibility information entered in Section 3. Finally, we will review a CIS for completion for foster children. For households that include foster children, Sections 1, 2, and 5 are to be completed. When checking for completeness for foster children, ensure that the Check If Foster Child box has been completed in Section 2. There are 3 different ways a household can complete a CIS for foster children. They may be considered part of the household and included on a CIS submitted by the household. A separate CIS can be completed for a foster child, or if there's more than one foster child in the home, they can all be included on the same form. Now we will review how to approve a confidential income statement. We'll be looking at how to approve 3 different eligibility types. As a reminder, only complete CIS forms containing all required information can be approved as free or reduced price eligible. If the form is not complete when received, the sponsors can ask the parent or guardian to complete the missing information or determine the CIS as above scale. Sponsors will document the determination in the Sponsor Use Only section of the CIS form. The Sponsor Use section of the CIS form is to be completed by the sponsor's determining official. Once the application has been reviewed for completeness, the determining official will then approve the application based on the identified eligibility type. In the Sponsor Use section of the CIS is where the determining official will make the eligibility determination. The FDCH heading in this section with Tier 1 and Tier 2 does not apply to child care centers. Sponsor officials may not complete any part of the household section of a CIS for a parent or guardian unless the parent or guardian cannot read or write, has a disability and requires assistance, or requests or requires sponsor assistance to complete the CIS for any reason identified by them. ODE C&P recommends if a sponsor assists the parent or guardian in completing the CIS, that it document why assistance was provided and what sections they assisted in. Now let's review examples of how to approve confidential income statements based on the different ways to determine eligibility. First, we will approve a completed confidential income statement with categorical eligibility. Here is an example of a CIS form to be determined for categorical eligibility. The sponsor's determining official has reviewed the form for completeness and has determined that the form is complete. In the Sponsor Use section of the CIS, the sponsor will check the eligibility as free based on SNAP, sign and date the application as approved. ODE C&P highly recommends the sponsor have an employee as a second check for all approved CIS applications. Next, let's look at a CIS that has been completed based on income. Here's an example of a CIS form to be determined based on income. The sponsor's determining official has reviewed the form for completeness and has determined that the form is complete. The sponsor's determining official will now use the federal income eligibility guidelines and the income provided and the number in the household to determine the eligibility of the participant. Each July, the federal government sets the income guidelines for free, reduced price, and above scale eligibility. The guidelines are based on household income and household size. From Section 1 of the Complete Confidential Income Statement, it is determined that there are 3 household members. In Section 2, there are 2 household members receiving income with the total income equaling $2,000. Please note, children listed in Part 2 should not be included in Section 4 unless they receive regular income per the instructions. With the provided information on the CIS, we've determined that the household size is 3 and the total household income is $2,000. Check the total monthly income and compare in the income eligibility guidelines to determine if the applicant is counted as free, reduced price, or above scale. If income is above the amount in the reduced price meals table, then the income application is approved as above scale. If the income is at or below the amount in the reduced price meals table and above the amount in the free meals table, then the application is approved for reduced price. If the income amount is at or below the free meals table amount, then the application is approved as free. With the provided information on the CIS, we have determined that the household size is 3 and the total household income is $2,000. Therefore, the household qualifies as free. In the Sponsor Use Only section, the determining official will now check the eligibility as free based on household income. The determining official will sign and date the approved application. ODE CMP highly recommends that the sponsor have an employee as a second check for all approved CIS applications. Finally, we will approve a completed CIS application for a foster child. The sponsor's determining official has determined that the application is complete. If the guardian has listed the foster child's personal discretionary income in Section 4, Column 5, Other Monthly Income, the determining official will list the income. If the foster child has no personal income, write 0. The sponsor will now check the eligibility is free based on the child being in foster care. The determining official will sign and date the approved application. ODE CMP highly recommends that the sponsor have an employee as a second check for all approved CIS applications. Foster children are categorically eligible for free meals. The sponsor needs documentation from an appropriate state or local foster care agency or court indicating the status of the child as a foster child whose care and placement is the responsibility of the state, or that the foster child has been placed with a caretaker household by a court. Children formerly placed in kinship care by a child welfare agency or a court are also eligible. Households with more than one foster child may include all foster children residing in the home on a single CIS. Foster children who are siblings and reside in the same foster home may also be included on the same form. Sponsors have the flexibility concerning the effective date of approval for program benefits. The date used to make this determination may be either the date the parent or guardian signed the confidential income statement or the date on which the sponsor official signs the CIS to approve the eligibility of the participant. The flexibility only applies to eligibility determinations made through the application process of complete applications containing all required information at the time of submission. Sponsors must decide which date they will rely on as the effective date and apply this date to all CIS forms. Please note, if the date the applicant's parent or guardian signed the CIS form is not within the month of sponsor approval or the immediately preceding month, the effective date must be the date of sponsor approval. To review, this training covered how to assist parents and guardians with completing the confidential income statement, reviewing the CIS form and the different types of eligibility, how to approve CIS forms, and how to establish the effective date of approval. Thank you for participating in the Approving Confidential Income Statements Child Care Centers training for the Child and Adult Care Food Program. If you have any questions, please contact your assigned child nutrition specialist. We greatly appreciate the work that you do to fuel Oregon's future.